Welcome to our Dharma family service. Today we're doing things a little bit differently because it turns out they're going to have a Lunar New Year's parade here in the area. And so the streets around the church are going to be closed. So we thought it's better, rather than have you get stuck here or maybe not even be able to get here, we'll do an online service. So I thought I'd do things a little bit differently. Let's begin our service with Nembutsu chanting. Now, normally we do sutra chanting, but again, I want to do things a little bit different. And so we've been doing this Nembutsu chanting with the Dharma school, and I recite Namo Amida Butsu once, and then we recite it together 3 times. Okay? So here we go. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. I decided to do service out here in the kind of lobby area because this year we are observing the 850th anniversary of the birth of our founder, Shinran Shonin. And here's a statue that we have in our lobby of Shinran. And also the 800th anniversary of the establishment of the Jodo Shinshu teachings. And so representing that is our Gomonshu here, and also the previous Gomonshu and his wife, and that they're the parents of our current Gomonshu. So in May, some groups are going to Japan for the celebration at Nishihonganji, at our Honzan. And in the Bay District, we're going to do a celebration in March, on March 12th, at the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. And we're asking people to come to the temple in Palo Alto to have a kind of a joint district service. Now this is really significant, huh? Shinran Shonin having been born 850 years ago this year. We celebrate his birthday in May with our Gotane service, but this is kind of a special occasion, this special year when we're considering, wow, 850 years ago, Shinran Shonin was born. Now Shinran learned the teachings from his teacher Honen. He also looked to various masters from India, China, Japan, also Korea and other areas, but mainly Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu from India, and then Tanluan, Daocho, and Shandao from China, and then Genshin and his teacher Honen, Shinran's teacher Honen from Japan. So he learned the teachings, kind of made his own interpretations. And then, fortunately, after that, people passed on these teachings. So that's why it's partially Shinran Shonin, right? And even though Shinran didn't see himself as creating a new school, his interpretations were just really profound and so far-reaching. And then, fortunately, other people understood this. Whether his daughter Kakushinni, his great-grandson Kakunyo, the 8th generation descendant Renyo, and then all the way down to now, right? That we still have our Honganji, this mother temple, this temple of the primal vow. And we have that because people passed on the teachings. So, okay, so what? What's so special about it, right? I think it's really special. I think it's really, really amazing. I mean, and you may notice, a lot of times I think many people think that aren't Buddhist monks celibate, right? You hear about Buddhist monks and, they shave their heads, maybe they have special diet, they don't, they're celibate. Not Shinran, Right? Even though he looks shaven-headed in the statue and in many of the pictures, he referred to himself as Gutoku. Gu means foolish. Toku means stubble-headed. So here's a monk that we might think, wow, what a great person. And yet referring to himself as foolish stubblehead. That's because, partly, he didn't follow the precepts. He didn't maintain the standards of being a proper monk. Actually, many people didn't at that time in medieval Japan, but Shinran was really open about it. And so he didn't keep his head shaven properly, and he didn't maintain the precept of celibacy. And so he married, he had children, like I mentioned, Kakushini is one of them, his daughter, and then his descendants as well. So part of Honganji and the system of the Monshu, our abbot, they are blood descendants of Shinran, but also Dharma descendants. Right? So that's really significant, kind of a very different thing about Jodo Shinshu from many of the other schools, that we have a married priesthood, and it's been like that since the time of Shinran. Shinran referred to himself also, in addition to Gutoku, he referred to himself as Hiso Hizoku. He is a character for, I'm drawing it in the air, is a character for, it's a negative character. Negative in the sense of it negates what comes after. So so is monk. Zoku in this case could mean layperson. So he's saying, I'm neither a monk nor a layperson. Right? He's not maintaining the monastic standards, and yet he's also not just living a secular life. Right? He has the Dharma in his life. He's walking the Buddha way, the Pure Land way, but not as a full-fledged monk. And actually, I think we can I'm like that too, right? I'm not a monk, and yet not a layperson. So our ministers in Buddhist Churches of America or, Nishihon Ganji, I think the ministers in that sense are neither monk nor lay. But in a way, how about you? How about followers? Are not all of us who follow the Shinshu path neither monk nor lay person? Right? That we all walk a different way of life than just being a lay person, a regular person in secular life. Right? That this path is not only for monks or ministers or only certain special people. Right? That's one of the key elements of Jodo Shinshu, is that it is for anyone. It's for everyone. Right? And that we can all walk this very special path. Now it's kind of thinking about, okay, again, so what? Well, maybe it's thinking about living a fulfilled life. And there's many different ways to live a fulfilled life, right? We can look to other systems of thought and I think one is get as much stuff as you can. Try and live a fulfilled life by having stuff, whether it's money or material possessions like cars or houses, right? Anything where we can kind of see, I just want as much as possible. I'm going to live life to the fullest and do as much as I can and get as much as I can. Right? Maybe that's one way we could see as living a fulfilled life. I think sometimes religion looks at that and says, wait a second, that's not the way to happiness. And Buddhism does this in a way sometimes, that no, that's just desire. Right? You're just trying to fulfill your desires. Desires can never be fulfilled. As soon as you fulfill one, you want something else. It's ultimately unfulfilling. So maybe we should try and get rid of our desires, cut them off. The 3 poisons: get rid of desire, get rid of anger, get rid of ignorance. So this is a different way to try and live a fulfilled life. If I don't have desires, then I don't have the emptiness that I feel when my desires are unfulfilled, because no desires in the first place. Hey, if we could do that, maybe that would work, but that's really hard. Right? It's really hard to get rid of all desire, get rid of all anger, just be completely happy with what's in front of you. Some people try and do that, and I think that that's what some kinds of Buddhism do, but that's not the Shinshu way. I don't think the Shinshu way is either of those. And I realized, the first one is kind of like hedonism, right? Just trying to live a life of pleasure. And the second one is, denying pleasure, denying desires, denying yourself almost. And that reminded me of the story of Shakyamuni. Isn't that kind of what Shakyamuni did, right? Growing up, the first part of his life as a prince, no suffering whatsoever, and yet not being fulfilled. He had that suffering, right? That his desires weren't fulfilled. And then he went off on this ascetic journey, trying to do these difficult practices, trying to purify himself or even just negate himself. He found that didn't work either. And then awakened to the middle way. So likewise, I think that Shinshu is also a kind of middle way. It's neither just indulging in the three poisons, nor is it trying to get rid of the three poisons. There's an acknowledgement that in many ways I am desire and anger and ignorance. But that's not all there is. We find that the antidote to that, the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, can be found in our lives. That's kind of what Namo Amida Butsu is about. Right? I said Nembutsu chanting at the beginning, but Namo Amida Butsu isn't only the Nembutsu that we say. Namo Amida Butsu is the name of Amida Buddha. And that name isn't just something that we repeat because someone told us to say it. It's actually something to be heard. It's Amida Buddha saying, take refuge in wisdom and compassion. Take refuge in nirvana. Take refuge in the Buddha. Take refuge in the Dharma. And so, if we hear that call, right, realizing, you know what, I've been trying to do what I think I'm supposed to do, get a good job, make lots of money, get lots of stuff. That hasn't worked. Or maybe I haven't even been able to accomplish that. And so just because I can't get it, does that mean I should just not want it? I don't think that's going to work either. If I have it, just give it all away and that's going to somehow make me feel better. We each live in our own circumstances. We each live in our own unique life of my life, but I'm who I am because of so many others, right? Because of my parents and my teachers and my friends. And so my life and each one of us in our own circumstances, right, that we live that life. Trying to become more aware of three poisons, right, that Buddhism recognizes, desire can be a poison. Anger can be a poison. Ignorance is a poison. Right? That these things just lead to harm and suffering. But if I can't get rid of them, even just seeing them and realizing, wow, that's who I am. Right? That's such a big part of who I am, but it's not all there is. That there's also this wisdom and compassion. There's this other way, right, where I can stop just being stuck in myself, self-centered, right, and have my eyes opened to a bigger world, right? Have my eyes opened to a bigger reality and other people. And that's the Sangha, right? I mentioned Buddha, I mentioned Dharma. We say it every week, right? I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. So for us, the Sangha is our community. I'll call it our Dharma family, right? There's maybe different groups, right? Our temple, Alameda, Berkeley, Palo Alto, where we hope to see you in March, right? But these various Sanghas are part of a bigger Sangha. And that Sangha allows us to be ourselves with others, which isn't always easy either, right? Now this third path, right? I mentioned that hedonism, chasing pleasure as number one. Number two, right, this self-control and trying to get rid of desires and get rid of anger and all those things. Those two, right, and then this third one, the Shin path. It's not easy to explain, but part of it is be yourself, which seems like number one, but maybe when we combine it with number two, right, that I be myself and yet with others. So I can't just selfishly forge ahead. I have to consider others as well. And then with this kind of combination, there's something bigger that Shinshu offers. a fulfillment that Shinshu calls Shinjin, or the entrusting mind. It's related, remember I said, the name of Amida Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu, not as something I say, but something to hear. Hear this call from the Buddha that says those other two systems, maybe if they're not working for you, there's another way. And we say the name of the Buddha, but we say it in response to that call. We say it in response to this experience that we might have, where we realize, wow, you know what? I've tried to do those other two, and yet now I realize, what? I can be myself? That's what I really appreciate. And Shinran Shonin, I want to thank Shinran Shonin for making this path, or revealing this path, maybe I should say. I'm wearing the blue, I forget exactly which one this is, 750th anniversary of Shinran's death, possibly. I don't totally remember. I got to ask Reverend Endo. But, the church was kind enough to give this to me. And this is commemorating Shinran Shonin, this particular Wagesa. They have a new one for this upcoming 850th 800 commemoration. But this one is special to me. It even has on the pattern, I'll come up. It looks kind of like waves, right? That this Wagesa, this pattern, is in reference to Shinran Shonin's exile. When he was exiled from the capital to Echigo, and the story goes they went by boat, and it was a difficult journey, unknown places, right? Going just not knowing what was ahead, having been defrocked, exiled. He was later on pardoned, but what a significant event in his life. And he forged ahead. He kept learning, kept living, and because of Shinran Shonin, because of so many people, because of his wife and daughter, Eshinni and Kakushinni, because of the Monshu, right? Because of our abbots, because of countless members, because of all the experiences that Japanese and Japanese Americans had here overseas, right, as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists. Now, not all Japanese people are Jodo Shinshu, and not all Jodo Shinshu people are Japanese, right? But that history is so important. It's because of all these sacrifices, all this work, that I'm able to hear the teachings, that I'm able to hear the name. When we say Namo Amida Butsu, right, I know usually you say it because the minister said it. But think about it. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. In the midst of difficulties, in the midst of this lonely life, I'm able to hear something bigger. Right? There's something bigger out there, and it's calling to me. It's saying, take refuge in Amida Buddha. So I can respond with, I take refuge in Amida Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu. Or I can respond by living my life in a new way. Still my foolish self, and yet something different too. So I want to thank you very much for joining us for this special service. It's not really a special service, but it's kind of special. I hope it's different. I hope it's kind of interesting, right? I'm doing it at a different spot, different way. You're at home, where you're hearing it live or watching it later. But let's conclude with Gassho. Let us consider this 850th anniversary of Shinran Shonin's birth and the 800th anniversary of the establishment of the Jodo Shinshu teachings, allowing us to hear this incredible teaching where we can be ourselves, embraced by the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. So let's do a Gatha. I'd like to share the version of Shinran Sama that I recorded at least a year ago. I think it's about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. It's a beautiful song. It has images. This statue appears in it. The image of Shinran Shonin on the tiles, the one from the library, the one from the Naijin, and also one from the late Masanori Watanabe that he sent to me. And it has the lyrics, so you can sing along. It has the words in Japanese, but then the translation at the bottom. walking this difficult path sometimes, huh? This life can be lonely, this life can be difficult, and yet Shinran Shonin leading the way for us and teaching us about this all-embracing wisdom and compassion. そよ風渡る朝の窓働く手のひら合わせつつナモ阿弥陀仏唱えれば親鸞様はにこやかに私の隣にいらっしゃるきらめく夜空星の影嵐に消えても隠れても阿弥陀仏唱えれば親鸞様は灯火よ私の行く手にかざされるこの世の旅の明け暮れに寂しい命を嘆くときナモ阿弥陀仏唱えれば親鸞様は寄り添って私の手を取り歩まれる。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ。I wanted to let you know I did make a karaoke version, karaoke version of Shinran Sama. So if you want to listen to that song and sing along, it will be in the description of the YouTube video down there. You can also find it on my own Gyokyo YouTube page. So thank you very much for joining us. Not too many announcements. Next week, we'll be having our annual general meeting after service. So if you're a temple member, you can attend that, and we'll be emailing out instructions for that. And then also remember, the March 12th will be our special 800th service at Palo Alto Temple. It's too long to say the whole thing, so we're calling it the 800th. We'll be sending out information to that when that gets closer. We're hoping people can come in person, but we do plan to have a virtual aspect so that you can participate virtually as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Sorry we couldn't be open for you to come in person, but next week you can come back, okay? Thanks. Let's conclude our service with Gassho as we recite the name of Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, bye. Thank you.